Hello YouTube! We are on the real programming lesson. My name is Andrei. This is our lesson about HTML and CSS 59 lesson. I greet you. We will talk about advanced web construction, 10 chapters, divs and spans. It's time to get ready, have a construction. In this chapter we are going to roll out 2 new HTML elements, div and span. These are no simple 2 by 4s. This is our full-blown steel beams with div and span. You are going to build some serious supporting structures, and once you got those structures in place, you're going to be able to style them all in new and powerful ways. Now we couldn't help but notice that your CSS toolbag is really starting to fill up. So it's time to show you a few shortcuts that will make specifying all these properties a lot easier. And we've also got some special requests in this chapter, the pseudo classes, which are going to allow you create some very interesting selectors. If you're thinking that pseudo classes would make a great name for your next pen, too late, we beat you to it. The Elixir Mixer Alisa, you know, we'd love it if you could make the Elixir specials a little more attractive on the web page. Could you make it look just like our handout menu? Here is the handout menu with the Elixir specials. Whoa, this design is a lot different than the rest of the page. The text is centered and there are red headings and a aquamarine border around the whole thing, and even some cocktails graphic at the top. A close look at the Elixir HTML. Alice sure has asked for a tell other, hasn't she? She wants us to take the existing long HTML and make it look like the handout menu. That looks challenging, but we do have CSS on our side, so let's give it a try. But before we jump right into styling, let's get an overview of the existing HTML. Here's just the HTML snipped for the Elixir specials. You'll find it in long HTML in the chapter 10 long folder. We have the 3 Elixir things and each with the same structure. The Elixir special section begins with an H2 headings. Each Elixir has an image in a P element, a name in a H3 heading, and a description also in a paragraph. And this structure is repeated for each Elixir. And finally, at the bottom there is another paragraph with some text and the link to the real Elixir page. The looks good, guys. There's a lot of style changes we've got to make, and the Elixir style doesn't really match the rest of the page. Let's explore how we can divide the page into a logical section. We've drawn an outline of the pet stores page. Take a look at the web page to the right. It's a web page for petstores.com, and we're going to spend a few pages looking at how we might add some more structure to it by defining some logical sections and then closing those inside a div element. This is a pretty normal looking page, lots of headings, paragraphs and then image in there, but by just focusing on the structure of the page, you can't really tell a whole lot about the page. What elements make up the header? Is there a footer on the page? What are the content areas? And defining your logical section. Okay, so your job is to locate logical sections in this page. What is logical section? It's just a group of elements that are all related on the page. For instance, in the petstores.com web page, there are some elements that are used for the cats area on the page, and some that are used for dogs. Let's check it out. The pet stores page has two main content areas, one for cats and one for dogs. It has some other areas too, but we'll come back to those. In this case, both the cats and dogs sections consist of two elements, headings and a paragraph, but often these groupings can contain many more elements. Using divs to mark section. Now that you know which elements belong in each section, you can add some HTML to mark up the structure. The common way to do this is to place div opening and closing text around the elements that belong to a logical section. Let's first do this pictorially, and then we'll come back on the real markup in a couple of pages. Let's nest elements in each group in a div element. Here is our cat grouping, and here is our dog grouping. Labeling the divs, just be nesting your elements in divs. You're indicated that all those elements belong to the same group, but you haven't given them any kind of label that says what the grouping means, right? A good way to do that is to use an ID attribute to provide a unique label for the div. For instance, let's give the cats div an ID of cats and the dogs div an ID of dogs. Here we added an ID of cats to this first div to indicate what the logical section is for, and likewise for dogs. And the brain power exercise. On a referral from the Starbucks CEO, you've been asked to come in and consult on style changes to pet store's main page. How quickly would you understand the pet store's web page if you were shown page 1? What about page 2? Adding some style. Okay, so you added some logical structure to the pet store's page, and you also labeled the structure by giving each div a unique ID. That's all you need to start styling the group of elements contained in the div. Now, the divs have a little style. By setting the background of the div, it also shows all the elements contained in the div. The elements in the div will also inherit some properties from the div, just as any child element does, like font size, color, etc. And look on the code. Cats and dogs. Here we have two rules on one for each div. Each div is selected by an ID selector. Each rule sets the background image property. For cats we have a leopard image, and for dogs we have a mouse image, exposing even more structure. There's a couple of reasons you might want to add more structure to your pages with news. First, you may want to further expose the underlying logical structure of your pages, which can help others understand them and also help in maintaining them. Second, there are times when you need the structure so that you have a way to apply style to a section. Often you want to add the structure for both reasons. So in the case of pet stores, we could take this to the next level and add a few more divs. Now we added another div with an ID indicating this as the header of the page, and another indicating the footer of the page. Adding the structure to this can even help you think toward your page design. For instance, does it long P really need to be here? Adding structure on structure, and you don't have to stop there. It is common to nest structure too. For instance, in the pet storage page we have a cat section and a dog section, and the two together are logically the pet section of the page. So we could place both the cats and dogs div into the pets div. Now we are marked up this HTML so that we know there is a logical section of the page with pets content in it. Further, that pets section has two logical subsections, one for cats and one for dogs. And there are no doubt questions. So a div acts like a container that you can put elements into to keep them all together. It sure does. In fact, we often describe divs as containers. Not only do they act as logical containers that you can use to hold a bunch of related elements like the get elements together, but when we start studying divs and using them for a position in the next chapter, you'll see they act as graphical containers too. Beyond the structure, I'm already putting into my pages with headings and paragraphs and so on. Should I also be adding a higher level of structure with divs? Yes and no. You want to add structure where it has real purpose, but don't add structure for structure's sake. Always keep your structure as simple as possible to get the job done. For instance, it is helpful to add a pet section that contains both cats and dogs to the pet stores page. By all means add it. However, if it provides no real benefit, that it just complicates your page. After working with divs for a while, you start to get a feel for when and how much to use them. Do you ever put a div in class instead of giving it an ID? Well, remember that an element can have an ID and be in one or more classes at the same time, so the choice isn't mutually exclusive. And yes, there is many times you create divs and place them into classes. So you have a bunch of album sections in a page of music playlist. You might put all elements that make up the album into a div and then put them all in an album class that identifies their albums are, and they can all be styled together with the class. At the same time, you may give each album an ID so that it can have additional style applied separately. I was having a little trouble following the ID within div stuff with pets and cats and dogs. Could you explain that little more? Sure, you've used the two elements being nested in other elements, right? Like a P nested in a body instead. In HTML element, you even seen list nested with list. The div is really no different, you're just nesting an element inside another element. And in the case of pet stores, we're using it to show large chunks of structure, cats and dogs nested in a pet section. Or you might use divs to have a beer section nested in a beverages section, nested in a menu section. But the best way to understand why you would want something like a div in a div is by using them and encountering a situation where they mean something to you. Put this in the back of your mind and you will see the example soon enough where we need one. And we'll back at long. We'll talk about this in the next lesson, and this is our 59 lesson is over. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put like, share with friends, comment it, banana, chocolate, and nuts, drink more water for the effective work of our brains. Bye.